It's Thursday night, and it's USFanTV, and I don't have
Boom!
a dumb anecdote to start the show planned. I usually think of one,
Just your dumb face.
but I couldn't today because
I was
um,
going to say, hopefully, all the people who watched and made comments last week don't show up this week.
that was wild last week.
No.
If you guys were here, you knew. Like there was some very interesting
And if you
characters.
weren't, please don't go look. Watch the show and don't read any comments.
We're Christian wants to know where the Emmy is. It's in the closet. I like to keep it in the closet to keep myself grounded and humble, Christian. Um,
And it still fails.
yeah, I know. I have two of them too. They sit right next to one another. My
I,
wife's is out on the shelf, I'll have you know.
well, yeah,
You
because
come to our house,
hers is actually earned. You just happen to be there at the right time.
pretty much. Um, yeah. But yeah, this is US Fan TV. It's a show about soccer in the United States. I am Emmy award-winning hat guy. He is Chris.
I am Chris.
And also with us, we have the minivan dad, TJ.
Along with Mary Grace joining us tonight.
And Mary Grace, hello.
Yeah.
I met you in person for the first time this weekend at the Fire game.
Yes, you did.
We were some of the only people there. So
Us and about 10 of our closest friends. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't hard to see each other.
No.
Alex and Anthony from US Fan TV fame were there as well. So
What you
really,
said,
we
Alex,
made up like 25% of the crowd. People
Alex
associated with the show.
was Alex in the one intersection?
He was near us. Yes, I don't
Yeah.
think you actually got to meet him. He didn't.
I did not.
He didn't get as excited about the chance to meet TJ as he did Chris and I. Alex is taller than me, and he's almost taller than you now, Chris. Just so you
How
know,
about that?
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. That's all it is. We've got stuff to talk about. We've got a roster, and there's some issues with it. You might be okay with the issues. You might not. We'll talk about that. We've got jerseys to talk about. There's been a jersey drop. And we're going to tell you that we are also recording an episode of the Minivan Dad Soccer Pod tonight. They'll be out tomorrow. So if you can't get enough of us in this live stream, you can get more of us tomorrow at the place wherever TJ posts his podcasts, which is iTunes.
iTunes and SoundCloud.
Excellent. All right. Chris, you are the roster guy around here. You listed the roster last show that you thought we should have, and now we do have a roster, and it's different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. We got let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7. Oh, roughly 50% right. I got 50% right, roughly. 2/3 of the goalies right, and that was about it. It's I don't know if we can call it an experimental roster. I assume it's got to be Berhalter kind of building on, who he thinks could fit in. Maybe he's trying out more roles still before sort of unveiling his starting 11. I mean, I guess you could see it. It's only the first time that the European players can be called in too, so it's kind of interesting. But in the goalies, we've got Ethan Horvath, Zach Steffen, and one Sean Johnson making a
Sean John
making a new or a first appearance in quite a while now. In defense, we have John Brooks, Omar Gonzalez also making
surprise.
making his first appearance since single-handedly pretty much losing to Trinidad and Tobago. Nick Lima building on a good Camp Cupcake. Aaron Long, the same. Daniel Lovitz, Matt Miazga, Tim Ream, and DeAndre Yedlin. In midfield, we've got Tyler Adams, Michael Bradley, Sebastian Leggett, Weston McKinney, Christian Pulisic, maybe you've heard of that guy, Christian Roldan, and Will Trapp. And then at forward, we've got Paul Arriola. Yeah, a lot of forwards. Paul Arriola, who we had on our list, but we had him as a midfielder. I guess I have trouble seeing him as a forward unless we go with like a 4-3-3, a genuine 4-3-3. But anyway, whatever. Corey Baird, Jonathan Lewis, Jordan Morris making his long-awaited return from injury upon injury. Christian Ramirez and Giazzi Zardes.
Is this Ramirez's first appearance in forever?
Yeah. Like when was his last?
He
I could
didn't
look
play.
it up.
He wasn't Camp Cupcake, was he?
I don't think so.
I thought he was there.
We maybe he was. We probably could have.
That's possible, but I mean,
done some more.
other than that, I mean, he
did.
He was Camp Cupcake.
I think yes.
I believe he was there. Yes. Yeah. So it's not really about who you just listed, although some people are going to take issue with Michael Bradley. Pretty much everybody's going to take issue with Omar, although from what I heard, he's playing well. I haven't seen him play in Mexico, but
it's not been as consistent. I think, when it comes to Omar, it's more about how things kind of ended last time.
Yeah.
And a little bit, he is getting older. Like,
yeah.
Is it worth bringing a guy in who probably doesn't? I mean,
if the head coach is your former teammate at LA Galaxy, maybe he owes you a favor and wants to give you a second chance to end your career with the national team.
I mean,
kind of what I'm thinking there, but
he is, he's 30. So certainly by age, it's not necessarily what you want. I guess I could see when you call in a pretty young lineup that you want to have some guys who are older and have some more experience, but you have to think he's not challenging John Brooks and Matt Miazga for a starting role. So what is he there for?
Well, and
is it just to be a locker room guy, just to kind of be I don't know, an international senior player to show some of the younger guys like this is what to expect at the next level? I don't know.
But on defense, you have John Brooks and Miazga, Reem, Yedlin. They've all done this several. They've been down that road enough times, especially Brooks and Yedlin. I think Pat might be closer on this one. Hey, we're giving you one more shot because you're my old teammate and want to see you're playing well. Let's see what you have left.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that, but that's just me. I don't hate Omar. Didn't like the way things ended.
I don't hate him. I like him. He was cool when I met him.
That's what happened. I just realized you met him.
But that was years ago. That's been like 5 years since I met him or something. So
these things have a way of creeping up, though.
He played for Pachuca, so cool with me. It's more kind of how things went down that he was. I mean, that crappy own goal, like fantastically terrible own goal, certainly it certainly colors, I guess, the memory of him for everyone. But yeah, it's not terrible. My feeling about the entire roster is it's not terrible. It's not like I'll sit here and get angry about it. It's more that why didn't some of the guys who maybe we want to see here get called up? And it is possible that some of them are getting drawn into the U23 group because we are trying to finally maybe make an Olympics.
Back up here for a second. Tim Weah, Josh Sargent, and Georgi Mihalovic, who was very, very good at Camp Cupcake, all not listed here. And that's who you're talking about. My initial reaction when I saw this is I'm like flipping through. I'm like, wait a minute, flip back. Wait a minute. Wait. And I'm going through their stupid crossword puzzle thing, which I give them credit for trying. And I get the symbolism of the crossword puzzle thing with this team, but I didn't like it. I'm like, give me the facts. Give me the roster.
At the same time, though, you're talking the U23s. One Weston McKinney, one Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, I mean that's a question I have for down the road. So we'll pose that now, I guess. Weah and Sargent, because we didn't know when the roster came out that this is why they weren't included, but if they are going to be included with the U23s, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, especially if you're trying to build some cohesiveness to actually do well at the Olympics, something that we haven't done since Sydney in 2000, pretty much. And especially if, the systems are going to be roughly the same, it's probably okay that those guys aren't there. But then that does bring up the question of, Are we really going for the Olympics? Are we really going to bring in, like, if we're really going for it, we could break the glass and bring out Pulisic and McKinney and everybody who's currently in the Bundesliga. That would work. And then, you get 3 over 23s, I believe, in the Olympics. We could really, really go for it if we, want to qualify and then try to win the thing. But,
But what about the I thought I saw something with the U20s. That doesn't match up at all, does it?
I don't think so.
I would think that the U20s isn't going to matter right now. The U23s I can see mattering
specifically because of the Olympics.
Because of the Olympics.
Yeah. And that's
but I mean, that's the only thing that where Weah and Sargent could be, where Pulisic and McKinney, for example, aren't in that sense. And Mihalovic. Well, Mihalovic is he's 21. He's 21, almost 21. So
yeah, he's 20 right now.
He'll be 21 later this year. So I mean, my point being that's where Sargent and Weah could be, where, but I'm curious. Neither one of them are hurt, are they?
No.
The only other question I have is, especially Sargent more so, resting him. I mean, just because it's his first real season of professional soccer. I mean, maybe
it's
hitting the wall kind of thing. I don't know.
You would think that Greg would want to see everybody together.
Yeah,
I would. I mean, it'd be like, even if I was gonna, if the long-term plan was to put some of these guys with the U23s, I would still want them in this camp. This is the first chance that you have to get them all together, and
there is that, but you still got to remember, you have the opening round of the Gold Cup. I mean, I don't know if they're going to play any pre-tournament games, but you have the opening round of the Gold Cup to see a lot of that too, where the games they aren't.
I think the feeling like the way I could look at it and understand it is, these games don't mean anything. Let them get their minutes with the 23s as a way to hopefully build some quality there for Olympic qualification. And, it's been noted by U.S. Soccer. I don't remember if Berhalter said it specifically, but I do know U.S. Soccer's noted several times in the last year or so, we want to qualify for an Olympics.
And I like that.
It's been a failure that we haven't for the last 2, 3 now. 2, right? The last one would have been with Donovan. I think that's right? Sounds right.
Well, there have been 4 Olympics since then.
God, has it been that long?
Yeah. 04, 08, 12, and 16 since. God. I don't think our last Olympic appearance was 2000. It's just the last time. It might be, though. You have to go back and check. It's the last time I remember us doing anything. So.
Yes, Chris, we are that old. You can start accepting that fact.
Sort of crazy, but yeah, I think it's a good goal. I mean, you saw what, for Mexico, their gold medal in 2012 was the jumping off point for a lot of their current stars. And so you can see, and for us in 2000, when we had a decent run there, that was Donovan and Beasley. So
I think part of it is that you're building a team there that can then progress. So, you're forming the nucleus of a team in those guys. And that's giving them a chance to play together and play at an advanced level, but without moving into having to take on the full, say, national teams that you then start playing against veterans who know how to game the system, or how to do little things to kind of take you off your game, or that maybe you're just playing against even better players who you're not ready to go up against yet.
I do wonder if we are going to break Pulisic out for the Olympics, what Chelsea's going to say about that. It does seem ridiculous to put a Chelsea player on a U23 Olympic squad, but
and it was pointed out earlier in the chat, seeing we're talking about one Christian Pulisic, that Tim Howard does have more Premier League goals than Christian Pulisic.
He does currently. That is true. That is true. The camo jersey.
Keller.
And Brad Friedel, I believe.
I was going to say, and Brad Friedel, I think. We have 3 goalkeepers with goals in the Premier League.
But Howard's was off a goal kick or a clearance. It was one or the other. It was from his own box.
It was, yeah. I think Keller's was too.
Was it?
Friedel, I don't remember.
One of them was Friedel's was with Spurs, wasn't it? That other team. Is that where he was?
I
Still?
believe Friedel
That
had
was
scored.
That was
where he
that was
came
off
up
an
at the end
offside.
of the game.
No, the one of them was from like an offsides free kick, like about 30 yards from his own goal. I mean, it was outside the penalty area.
Oh, okay,
but I can't remember.
I don't think I ever saw it. I think you're just aware that he scored.
Yeah.
So are you guys okay with this roster in general? I mean, I went from, I had this sort of like progression when I was texting Chris about it, where I was initially pissed and I'm like, okay, I guess I get it.
Very angry to start.
I was pissed and then I sort of like kind of understood and then I was sort of like apathetic. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do. Which I don't like to be about this team. I like to be excited about this team, and I really wanted to see everybody together, and he is not letting us have that. So hopefully the long-term big picture plan here is good. Because otherwise,
wrong with Tim Howard saying Neuer's the best goalie today? I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it, but I'm not totally like that dude was light years above everyone else as recently as like 4 years ago. Now, granted, it's 4 years. He's aged.
he didn't.
De Gea,
he got spun yesterday.
Ter Stegen have come up. That said, the guy can still come out and play the ball. I mean, he's truly a sweeper keeper. He has a dimension to his game that I don't think anyone else has. Any other keeper in the world.
Yeah. That said,
but whatever.
He was not particularly great yesterday.
Yeah.
And that made you sad, didn't it, Pat?
It did. Bayern is my number 2 team. They've really crept up. I've really developed an affinity for them. And then, when I start to like something, it kills you.
Well, I mean what is it they pointed out that Lewandowski went to Bayern and
Lewandowski and Hummels went to Bayern to play in a Champions League, to win a Champions League, and the only final they ever played in was against Bayern for Dortmund. So yeah, there's that. Goetze too, but then he went back.
Right, and
Boner man.
Was there just a boner comment there?
I called him Boner man.
Yeah.
I was going to say the Rapist advanced.
My son met him over the summer, and I was like, yeah, he's famous for a goal and then a photo. You know about the goal. I'm not going to tell you about the photo yet. Probably won't ever tell you about the photo. You'll have to find that on your own. But yeah, that's a moment there in history. It stands tall.
Okay, Nico put a name out there. Nico put a name out there that's not on this list that I think is worthy of discussion, and that's one Mr. Robert Wood.
Yeah, I'm fine with him not being there.
I mean, is he done?
Seems that way.
I don't know if we can say he's done because the number of options we have is still pretty limited. It's sort of like saying Josie's done. It's hard to say yes when it's not like we have a ton of guys just lighting things up. Josh Sargent has everyone excited, but realistically, he's not playing that much. He's got a couple goals, but okay, like if he was playing week in and week out and scoring all the time, sure. Hey, then we start talking about, oh yeah, we have our guy locked down. I still think he's the future. I still want him to be, but he's still growing and kind of growing into his role. Even for a team like Bremen that has not been great at scoring this season, it's not like he's out there every week. So, they're projecting good things for him, but they're still not fielding him week in and week out. So, it's hard for me to, in that circumstance, to say, yeah, Bobby Wood's done when he's playing pretty regularly. He's on a team that like is basically never scoring, so he's not getting goals. But maybe moving somewhere else will benefit him. I have trouble writing him off already.
Wando's not there either. It's being pointed out,
and neither is Mixed Diskerud. So yeah, this
true. What?
This truly is not a full squad without Mix. I mean,
where is he now? South Korea. Is that right?
I think that's right.
They might have sent him to North Korea by this point, to be honest.
People bought his jersey.
Yeah.
Not all that long ago, people were like, Mix is the guy. He had like his own hats.
We left a certain Landon Donovan at home and then gave him the number 10 jersey to go to a World Cup.
That just seems.
I'm not saying he wasn't good for us for a while, but he was not Landon Donovan replaceable good.
Rodolfo has a good question. How many Americans scored goals in the CONCACAF Champions League this year, other than DeMarcus Beasley? He might be the only one.
Literally the only one I'm certain of.
The only American, it seems like it. And before we go to, I know we're going to talk jerseys. We wrap this team up. One Gideon Zalem.
Gideon Zalem,
yeah.
We might as well talk about him here.
To Sporting.
Chris and I, as you know, are gigantic Arsenal fans, and we really have no idea about what he has to offer because we've never seen him play.
Every time he's had a chance, basically, he's gotten hurt.
I've seen some YouTube highlights. Like, I know a lot of the guys in the Arsenal, youth system, and he's not okay. We'll see what he has to offer. I really hope it's like when Arsenal decided Serge Gnabry was surplus to their needs because he's now amazing. I really hope that Gideon is fantastic with KC. But I you know how we always say on this show that you need to be playing at whatever the top level is that you actually still play first team minutes at. We're gonna see him play first team minutes here, so that's definitely a good move for him, I think. Not usually moving from a big club in Europe to MLS is a bad thing for us, I would think, but not in this case. So, Alexander Ronaldo is a very good player. I still don't think he's better than Messi, but I'll tell you this. If I was using lots of my money and influence to hold off process servers from reaching me in Italy and fight rape allegations, I wouldn't do the big dick celebration to get back at Diego Simeone, but that's just me,
Well, and the question, and Alexander put the question out: who had a better week, Messi or Ronaldo? And I'm going to say Messi, although Ronaldo had a good week because he didn't.
It was an amazing performance,
but he didn't. Nobody got raped that we know of. So but I'm going to still say Messi. And yes, I'm going to keep going to that joke. As unfunny as that not is, I think Ronaldo is just an awful human being for exactly what you talked about, Pat. So.
Oh, I will tell you, I can understand the fury that he plays with. Like, I have that in my own life, and it doesn't manifest itself. I don't have a soccer field for it to manifest itself on, so it happens when I'm driving or when I'm at the grocery store, things like that. I really feel that, the certain intensity level that he probably feels when he's playing in situations like that. So I can understand, the eruption that was that celebration, but, maybe not the best PR move. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, he's a dude who regularly posts pictures of him, or at least poses for pictures, like standing on his tiptoes.
Every time.
I don't think he has... think he has that awareness gene.
He is, I think... we always compare him to Michael Jordan because he is kind of he's a lunatic who's like self-made. When we always think that Messi's kind of like just a magical freak of nature. He's even more insane than Michael Jordan, I think. I don't think Michael Jordan ever stood on his tippy toes in a team photo to be a little taller.
I guess I'd be more. I was just gonna say instead of Michael Jordan, I would compare Ronaldo more with that same intensity level to one and rape allegation to one Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, that's actually
maybe and I think that's fair because Kobe sort of had that that inferiority complex kind of that he was there was always that that was kind of why he forced Shaq out because he couldn't handle that all the attention wasn't on him that people thought maybe the team wasn't as good because that the team wasn't just good because of him. Whereas Jordan had supreme confidence. He never seemed to give off an air of I don't know, self-defeatism or something. Like, you know, like that he was always consumed with, like, for as maybe egotistical as he was and things, he was, I think, fully confident in himself. Ronaldo seems like they're for as confident as he is in his play, he does seem to have a lot of, like, I don't know, little fears or little things like eat his ego, like how he has to flex all the time, or like stand on his tiptoes, do things that make himself appear whatever, stronger,
there's something
bigger.
very wrong in his brain, and
yeah,
it helps him on the field, but he's
sure.
got to
like,
be an insufferable human being to be around.
Every inch of his body like perfect or something is part of what has driven him to be as good as he is. He may have like 8/10 the skill or something of Messi, but he has like 20/10 the intensity or like the personal drive, and that's the difference.
I'll tell you this: if anybody is cheating and using performance enhancing drugs in soccer, I guarantee you he's the one. And not that it's not his play that makes me think that, it's his personality. Like, I don't think there's any way he could not cheat if he knew there was a way available to cheat.
I don't know why any professional athlete wouldn't cheat if it's possible.
If you don't think you're going to be caught,
to me, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, because your entire goal is to win. You cut as many corners as you have to. Like, I don't like diving because I don't like the simulation, but I absolutely believe in it. Like, if you can get the chance to award yourself any kind of benefit, of course you take it. Like, why wouldn't you?
I believe, Chris, that's the first time I've ever heard you use a Jesse Ventura quote on USFanTV. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. It's not wrong. I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I just think it's funny that I believe that quote originated with Jesse Ventura when he was doing WWE commentary.
When I was still coaching, I taught my kids to cheat at times. I said, "Don't let me catch you doing it." I'd say, like, if you're going to do this, here's how to do it right, and here's how to get away with it. That said, I can see the result of it and know what you did, and I will punish you if I see you doing it. A referee, I'm like, you're not going to punish our team, so here's how to do it correctly. So don't get caught by the referee, but I'm also going to tell you, don't let me catch you.
All right, so
let's
get it back closer to the. Let's get it closer back to top. The question was asked.
Horrible father, thanks.
The question was asked, what are the best 11 out of this group?
Well, I think we're all in agreement on Stefan, Brooks, and Miazga, and Yedlin. At
Who's on the left?
Back.
I would like to have seen Fabian there, but it's just me.
Left back, man. I guess you probably send. Maybe you see what Nick Lima can do on the left.
Maybe.
I mean, he was doing a good job working the wing in
January.
In January, so try it. In the midfield, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic. God,
Leggett?
In what we currently have, unless you put Pulisic wide, but Berhalter has said he wants to play him like a 10. So I'm guessing that means Roldan isn't playing.
What if he goes 3-5-2?
And
got 6 forwards on the roster.
Yeah. We
don't have a left back. You would need to have somebody as a wing back then, but seems like,
I mean, if he went 3-5-2, I guess it does make a little bit of sense to bring in Omar then. Because I could see where Omar might challenge for like a third or fourth spot in like a 3 central back setup.
But under that setup, would you have DeAndre considered basically a wing back at that point then?
I think he has to be.
Yeah. He'd be great at that.
I mean, that's kind of been the hope all along, right? It's that, like, even if he has some weaknesses in his defending, the dude is so fast. One, he can help overcome them getting back, but also give him a shot against like anybody. Just put a ball over the top and let him run onto it. You do the overlapping run through midfield, and that was kind of like, that was always the thing sort of about Paul Arriola too, is that dude's awfully fast. And again, you can use the speed and exploit the space there. But God, in this setup with the number of midfielders and the number of forwards, maybe 3-5-2 is the way to go. And then that does give you, you've got Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic in the middle alongside Yedlin and I don't know, Lima or Long. And then
Jossie and whoever up top.
Yeah, God, I don't even know who you.
I'm right now. Looking at that list.
Maybe you go Jordan Morris. You go 1 foot and stone foot.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to see what Christian Ramirez has again. I mean, I know he played Camp Cupcake, but he's been in good form with LAFC. I think you see what you have. See what he can do against Step Up. So.
I think she's asleep, TJ.
She is asleep.
Good job. We should talk about the jerseys before we go. There's new jerseys. Not New
Jersey.
They are
ass.
It's not that bad.
Ass. They're ass. Like, they're fine warm-ups, I guess. But there's like...
Now,
to me, they look like a finished version of... like they did this for Donovan, but they do it for some players like all over. Like when they retire, they take a piece of like every jersey they ever played in and they piece them together into one. That's what this looks like to me.
The red one you're talking about?
Yeah, like there's so much going on, and it's not in any kind of symmetrical pattern. It's so...
It is busy. It's like a Cosby sweater with stars and stripes. And I like that it's red, and I like that it's got the subtle pattern of the stars and stripes. But I don't really like the way the stars and stripes look. That's kind of my feeling. I don't hate it. Like, when we did the Minivan Dad pod,
I will not be buying this one. I can.
You'll get it when it goes to Ross for $30. When we did the Minivan Dad pod, we talked about the U.S. jerseys, and we said, like, I always would give credit if they went for something, even if I didn't really like it, like kind of like the new Red Bulls jerseys. They kind of went for something here. I don't know if I like it. And by the way, are the men getting the white one?
that was a question I was just about to ask.
I've been wondering that too. Yeah,
isn't that a throwback for the women's?
It's a 99. Yeah, it's the throwback to the 99s, and I will say this for the women's jerseys, it is the actual colors of our flag. Unlike, it's not black and highlighter green like it was last time, although we won in that.
But the other side, if you remember that World Cup 4 years ago, the white jersey was unique for the women. I mean, I get it with the highlighter yellow, but it was unique. So the men didn't have that one. So I wonder if they're keeping it the same theme on that.
They get one to themselves.
Unique or you nasty?
They were terrible though. What jersey is amazing is the women's Germany home. Adidas always knocks it out of the park for Germany, and that new I think the women's World Cup jersey for Germany this year is better than the men's white from 2 years ago. I don't know if it tops the green. I loved the green. I have the green, but
Nike by and large did for the women's World Cup did a really good job with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of decent. The France ones are cool.
France's are pretty amazing. Yeah. England's are pretty damn good. Australia's, I mean, all the way through. There wasn't a really bad one in the group. I didn't think. Maybe other than that red one, that might be one of the lesser ones in that group. I mean, that's how strong I think of the group was in general. So, but I guess for the red one, B-. I guess if we're going to the Minivan Dad rating system,
B. I feel like it's better than that.
I'd say a B or a B-.
I'm buying it.
No, I'm not buying it
at all. I don't like it at all. To me, it's a fine warm up, I guess. If it was just that, sure, whatever. But it's not. This is not a jersey to play in.
Remember 15 years ago when we were begging for red jerseys because we had to wear red in Sam's Army?
Yeah,
would have been good for that.
I like when we do a red jersey, but why can't they just bring back the Waldo? Like, you can update it, you can do crazy shit to it if you want. Maybe do this in the, like, sublimated in there or something. Okay, fine, whatever. But like, this, to me, this thing's hideous. I can't stand it. I'm apparently in the minority these days. I never liked the stars, the denim from '94. I like the bacon stripes one.
It was okay. Like the stars were ridiculous, but they're ridiculous in a sort of nostalgic way now.
I guess. But I felt then, and I pretty much feel the same way today, that it's the complete like asymmetry in it, to me, like, kind of wrecks it. It doesn't look official or something.
Hey, Jeremy, by the way, Jeremy, don't worry. You're agreeing with Chris. Eventually, you're either going to have diarrhea or you're going to throw up. That's usually how you resolve that feeling.
By the way, I happened to see this recently. Do you know how they created the stars on those jerseys?
I don't, Chris.
They literally had pictures. They literally had pictures of stars that they pulled across a copy machine as it was running, and that's how they made those like stretched out stars. It was like a stupid thing they did in the office. They were like, "We should do this on the shirt." It was basically amazing. A mistake.
Anthony, you're right. That red from '98 is about the only good thing to come out of the '98 World Cup.
Yeah, that was a good one, and I think we probably would have kept with a red jersey if it hadn't been such a debacle.
That's probably the reason.
I think the Harks Ronaldo story is still one of the better things to come out of, because it's still entertaining to have for this day that happened. So anyway,
a couple people have brought up the women's lawsuit against the Federation.
I don't know if we have time for that. Keep it under a minute, Chris.
All right. Is it justified? Look, yeah, they have the right to do it. And the way the Federation reports its money, it wouldn't surprise me if they end up having to pay more. That said, they're subsidized for a reason, and they don't draw in, like, when they talk about how the revenues are coming in, they always leave out TV revenue. TV revenue overwhelmingly supports the men.
But the counter on the TV revenue is the TV revenue is tied in with Soccer United marketing in the MLS package. How do you separate between
they sell it as one entity? Yeah, that's the thing.
Like I said, by the way, U.S. Soccer reports its revenues, the women can make the claims that we make more money, and U.S. Soccer would make it look that way because they don't section things out to go, well, really, most of the money, because I'm sorry, I have trouble believing that the women truly, like, I know by the way it's reported that the women make more money off of in certain years, but I don't know, when you look at TV viewership, it's overwhelmingly weighted to the men. If you look at merchandise sales, I don't know the numbers, but I know what I see, and I do see women's stuff out sometimes, but for the most part, it's overwhelmingly men, even often women wearing like the men's stuff. So I have trouble believing that the numbers are whatever, that the women aren't already earning by percentage more than the men are versus their revenue. And that's the payout on the World
versus
Cup
the revenue. That's different. That's from FIFA, but versus the revenue, I think they are. But my question is, and this was actually asked of Megan Rapinoe on the Today Show. U.S. Soccer doesn't subsidize MLS, or I mean, I suppose in a way, but U.S. Soccer doesn't pay club salaries for its national team players. U.S. Soccer does for its NWSL players. It helps keep the league going, and so it was asked, what is equal? And that's the question that I've always had is, and Megan Rapinoe was like, it doesn't have to be the same. It just has to be equal. So she acknowledged that they're paid differently, which is a good point, because if you're paying them the same per appearance and then the women get their league salary subsidized, I guess I don't care. But it's not fair.
And I believe they get insurance tacked into their somewhere as well.
They do, yeah.
There is. It's like a complete package, and
it obviously matters more to them because they're not making $8 million a year playing in Europe or whatever Pulisic's making. They're I mean, Alex Morgan is probably doing quite well from her Nike deal, but I do I also wonder this: are you going to create? It's people are worried that it will be some sort of fight between the men and the women. I don't know that the men necessarily really care because the men are all rich, but you are going to see a fight between rank and file NWSL players uh, and the women's national team players, as Anthony pointed out on Twitter earlier this week. That is a very realistic thing here. Even the bottom feeders who get a cap or two versus Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe, there could be some sort of feud there. So I hope whatever they do, and it's odd to me that they sued 2 years after reaching a collective bargaining agreement.
Well, they do it when they have the attention.
Yeah. Whatever happens here, I hope it works out and it doesn't create some sort of giant feud.
And the only thing I've heard, I was going to say, the only thing I've heard is this is ultimately going to be tied with Hope Solos, and it's going to be turned into a class action.
They want a class action it, yeah.
Well, I don't know if they do. I think that's what U.S. Soccer is ultimately going to want, that they are only fighting it on one front. But I don't know. I mean, why would you want to have two lawsuits where you're going to hold them against each other?
You know what that would mean? You guys, that would mean they have to move Hope's suit to Chicago. Get to go sit outside the Dirksen Federal Building and see if we can spot Hope walking in. Be fun.
Somebody asked, should the women win, will it mean less money for the men? No. They're sitting on $100 million surplus. Like, there's money to pay more. It's just whether or not you want to set the precedent of doing these things. And that's where I understand wanting to say, like, equal pay for equal play. Well, one, I think if we're going to be fair, if we're going to be honest, it's not equal play.
You could argue that, yeah. You could argue that it's
like nobody wants to make that
they're not doing the same job.
Yeah.
You're there's no other workplace in which the men and the women do separate things. Usually it's all together. In this case, you have men's soccer player and you have women's soccer player. And I actually support I sound like I don't, but I support the women in this. I hope they get more money out of US soccer because they deserve it. But I could argue that they are doing different jobs. The women don't have to go try to qualify at Saprissa or Azteca. The women play a bunch of extra tournaments that are made for them here in the States, including the CONCACAF qualifying tournament. So it's a different thing. They're kicking a ball in the end, and that's very similar, but it's a different thing. And if I'm U.S. Soccer and I want to take this as far as I can, I could argue that.
My point was going to be in this, like, equal pay for equal play. Is it equal play? Because by that notion, then any person who ever kicks a ball is an equal player, right?
So does that mean the U20s need to be paid in the same fashion? Like, the under 17s. This is my
issue. I'm sorry. There is a difference.
And that's the
question. At what point do you draw the line? Is it just the full national team is the best? Well, like people will sometimes rub in their face. The women's team lost to Dallas's U15s in a scrimmage.
Well, and the bottom line is you also have to look at it. It's a Jeffrey Kessler lawsuit, who I believe is the lead attorney for the NASL. He's probably it's kind of like he's the Gloria Albright of suing in sports. It's what he does. I agree with you, Pat. I want to, if there's something to make it more equitable, I'm for it. U.S. Soccer, they're sitting on a ton of cash. Pay some of it. I'm fine with that. But I agree that you got to look at what is the question that Megan Rapinoe could answer is what is equal, and that's what's got to be, and that could be part of why they're doing it. They're trying to find out what is considered equal.
And the money that they'd have to pay to even out the appearance fees is relatively small. They're not that far apart. You can avoid a bunch of negative PR by just doing it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Because every time that story comes out, don't they deserve to be equal?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot more nuanced than that, but
yeah. And that's it. It's so much of the argument is really in the nuance, but U.S. Soccer won't make that argument because they don't want to sound like, they don't want to say the things like kind of what I just said, that, okay, it's not the same. It's not the same play just because they're kicking a ball, because, like I'm being a little facetious when I say, like, then any kid kicking a ball is doing the same thing, right? I shouldn't say any kid, any person in the world. So do they all deserve to get paid the same? Look, we all get paid differently for our jobs than other people doing the same job somewhere else. Is that fair? Not necessarily, but I don't know. Is there a way to fix that? Anyway, that was a long 1 minute.
We have to go record the Minivan Dad Soccer pod, guys.
We do. Yeah. And I want to finish the last question I kind of like Christian's asking. Do you see the NWSL surviving another 10 years? Yes, absolutely. I do.
I think so too. I hope so.
Because you're starting to see people who want to invest in it. And I think after this World Cup, you'll see some of that and who can afford to take the losses. That's why MLS survived. You had people who could afford to take those losses for that many years. And it's going to have to keep going with the NWSL. But yeah, I think it's there for another 10 years at least.
Well, I think there's a market for women's soccer. Like, it's not to say that, like, I mean, I guess to give my opinion, I would say, no, they're not as good as the men's team. That said, it doesn't mean they're not still an entertaining quality product. There is a market for watching them. There is a market for them to play. Will it ever be as big as the men's? I don't think you could ever convince me under any circumstance. But there's a market for anything. Anyway, yeah, my point is just, sure, why wouldn't it be around? I think the market for women's soccer is growing, and the U.S. is leading that.
All right. All right. This is USFanTV. We have a Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and a YouTube channel, which you've discovered, no doubt. Subscribe if you haven't. Chris, no, I'll not do you first. We do the Minivan Dad first here. Minivan Dad, before we go record your podcast, which will be out tomorrow on iTunes and all podcast platforms that TJ puts it on. Do you have any final words?
Just keep listening to Minivan Dad, watching USFanTV. That's all you're. Dad. And you listen to Minivan Dad, watch USFanTV. You're going to get all the soccer coverage you need in 1 week.
Chris, who is on the main Arsenal Facebook page today, do you have any final words?
I do not. You are done.
Yeah, I would say my final word to you is to go to Facebook, go to the Arsenal page, and find the video from the Highbury in Milwaukee, and find Chris like he's Waldo in the video. And then you'll have all the answers you need. This is USFanTV. You are done.